That's 8 wins on the season for your New York Rangers after a 5-2 win over the Islanders on Sunday, and that went down at the Garden. So let's talk Rangers hockey. And, of course, Peter Laviolette's line switch-ups with Jonny Lazarus, host of the Daily Faceoff and the Blue Crew podcast. My man's in the building. How you feeling, man? Thanks for hopping on.
It's a Victory Monday, so I put on a little bit of a loud jacket, even though it's not a convincing win. And I know that's the MO of the Rangers right now. They're winning hockey games, and that's the business. It's a results-based business, but they're not doing it in convincing fashion. So I think peripherally, if you look at that game yesterday, great. They put up 40 shots. Igor played great. Their power play came through. They got a shorthanded goal. But when you really look at the detail, 5-on-5, the score is 2-2. And 5-on-5, that's the real concern with this team right now. So there are little things that are being overshadowed, I feel like, with the Rangers right now.
I will go in deeper then, man. The floor is yours because, I mean, I'm looking at it like they treated the Isles like little bro and sent them back to the island. So, I mean, I guess break it down in terms of what you like and what you didn't like about the Rangers win.
Yeah, I'll start with what I didn't like, to be honest. And, you know, Peter Laviolette always talks about these loud mistakes. You know, you can make a little hiccup here and there, but sometimes it doesn't end up in the back of your net. And against a team like the Islanders, those mistakes that typically would be loud against a team that has a better ability to finish weren't that loud yesterday just because the Islanders weren't able to score. But, Shesterkin stopped 2 breakaways. He stopped multiple 2-on-1, 3-on-2 odd man rushes. And against a better team, those probably go in the back of your net. So all the concerns that we've had about the Rangers at 5-on-5 were still there yesterday. But what I did like was the Rangers' PK, their power play. I mean, the penalty kill has killed off now 16 in a row, and I believe 34 of 37 attempts, the best penalty kill in the NHL right now. And when you have Chris Kreider, who leads the NHL in shorthanded goals with 11 since 21-22, it's pretty damn impressive what he's been able to do over the past 3 years. So there are some good things. I thought the response to the line changes were okay. I mean, I would say average, not anything above average. Vinny Trocheck scores a nice goal off a Riley Smith forecheck at 5-on-5, and then Adam Edstrom gets a weird bounce for the 4th goal in the 3rd period, which gave the 4th line a nice little thing to cheer about. So there were some good things at 5-on-5, but the guys you really want to see get going are Mika Zibanejad, obviously, and Kreider at 5-on-5, which still wasn't really there yesterday, in my opinion. So those are things to look for moving forward.
Well, let's talk about that line change up because a lot of people were questioning Peter Laviolette that, one, he made the lineup changes a day before the game, and then he split up that long-time duo of Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad. So go even further because, again, when you win 5-2, it's looking like everything's on in the terms of Ice Cube, that today was a good day in that sense. Yeah. So what was good about the shakeup and what didn't you like?
Well, for a guy like Vinny Trocheck, I think he's fed so well off of playing with Lafreniere and Panarin. And a big part of this change to me was to get Mika Zibanejad going at 5-on-5. It wasn't a demotion for Trocheck. It wasn't a demotion for Kreider. They rely on Zibanejad to be their number 1 center, and they need him to produce as he would if he were the number 1 center. But with how things have gone over the past 2 seasons and with Filipino being healthy this year, Zibanejad has really looked like that 3rd-line center just with his production. Filipino has been excellent. He looked good yesterday alongside Chris Kreider and Capo Caco. They had a bit of a slower start to the game, but picked up some momentum as the game continued. And then Trocheck, Cooley, and Smith. Vinny Trocheck was a guy I was watching closely yesterday. In the 1st period, he went off for a change. He slammed his stick. He looked frustrated. I mean, he's played plenty of games alongside Lafreniere and Panarin, and those 3 have clicked and have been what you can consider the best offensive line in the NHL. And I'm sure he's frustrated about those 3 getting split up. But, again, I think what Peter Laviolette was thinking about is that because they've won a couple games and gotten themselves ahead in the standings, they have the room to try these things out now. So if things do go stale later on in the year, it's not so shocking in the room. And again, these aren't messages that are being sent this early on. Obviously you can look at it and say Mika hasn't been good enough, but yesterday he has a pretty good game. 3 assists, looked good defensively, looked more into it. And I think that's been the biggest concern with him early on this year is that he hasn't looked necessarily so engaged. But yesterday I thought he was. So that's a good sign. And as far as the other lines go, I thought the 4th line was excellent. They had a lot of offensive zone pressure. They sustained a lot of time in the offensive zone. They had the Islanders lost a little bit in their own end, but Defensively at 5-on-5, I still think there are a lot of issues yesterday. The Rangers were hemmed in their own end quite a bit against an Islander team that isn't so strong offensively. And the one concern that stands out the most is the Rangers are still giving up the 4th most high danger chances in the NHL at 5-on-5, and that has to get fixed if they want to have success later on.
You talk about players being frustrated. You never want players frustrated within the scheme. So, like, take me into a hockey locker room right now. What's that conversation like between the players and Laviolette when it comes to switching up the lineups like that when you're already used to playing with guys? Or is it you just shut up and go play and it's complete buy-in? You just got to listen to the coach.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. It's a shut up and go play. Listen, this team wasn't happy with their performances in the 2 previous games. They were outshot essentially 3-to-1 ratio over those 2 games. I mean, Igor Shesterkin in the last 3 games has had to make 116 saves. You're never going to win hockey games consistently if you're asking your goalie to face 40 shots, 45 shots a night. And last night or yesterday afternoon, that happened as well. The Islanders put up 37 shots. So, the defensive side wasn't much better in yesterday's game. And while you can say the guys aren't that frustrated, they know they can do that much better because they're 8-2-1. And Mika's Banjad said it yesterday. We have an 8-2-1 record, and we don't even feel like we're playing close to our best hockey yet. So it's a good problem to have when you're finding ways to win games because good teams always find a way to win. But there are wins where you feel good after them. I don't know if yesterday was such a feel-good win because they still asked a lot of their goaltender.
Man, it's rough being immediate. As a player, a win is a win. I know winning masks everything, and you want to get better at certain things, but it's like, man, how do you not feel good about beating up on little bro? And you mentioned the team being 8-2-1. They're in first place in the Met with 17 points and 3rd overall in complete and total NHL standings. They're off until Thursday when they play the Sabres. You mentioned Mika talking about things that they can get better at. 11 games into the new season. Talk to me from a player's perspective. What do they think they can get better at? Not Johnny the media, but Johnny, my former UMass guy. UMass hockey, shout out to you guys.
Appreciate the UMass shout out always. And I think what they can get better at is just, making sure the opponents don't sustain time in their own end. A lot of times the Rangers aren't able to create offense because they're stuck in their own D zone. And sometimes, when you're playing defense for 30 to 40 seconds, your legs get tired quickly and you can't even get up the ice for an odd man rush. I'm not saying everyone on the team has had that problem. I think Lafreniere, Panarin, Trocheck, when they were together, were doing a solid job at creating offense off the rush. But, other lines have had some issues with that. Another line that I really liked that I was hoping wouldn't get split up was Cooley, Kakko, and Hedl. They were one of the best lines in all of hockey at 5-on-5, outscoring opponents 9-0. Yesterday they get split up and Hedl got scored on, in a fluky play. I thought he was taken down by Noah Dobson in a call that could have been a hook. Unfortunately, it ended up in the back of their own net. But there are some guys that are playing well. I don't think everyone's playing to their best ability yet, though, and that's where the concern is. But again, it's still early on. We're only 11 games in, and like you said, Brandon, winning does mask a lot of things. But this team is focused on building the right habits to create those things in a positive way come April, May, and June. They're a team that has Stanley Cup aspirations, and they're not going to settle for anything less than that.
I love that. All right, Johnny, tell the people they can find you, man. Thanks for breaking this down for us, man.
Yeah, appreciate you always having me on, and you can just catch me on Twitter, JLazzy23, and Daily Faceoff YouTube channel every Monday through Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. That's where we do Morning Cup of Hockey, and it's a really fun time. So appreciate the shout as always, and I'm sorry about your Giants, man. It's depressing every weekend, it seems like, but rooting for you guys to turn it around.
That's all right, man. I'll put on my Miami Vice jacket after when we get ourselves a victory Monday. All right. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.